it is not simple, especially in this market environment. So we have to really customize a lot of transactions, a lot of different wording has to be put into contracts to make it work. And so it's not just the new agents looking for help, it's the veteran agents going, hey, I think I have an idea, but just want to bounce this off you. And I might have just been working on another deal with another agent, say, here's the scenario. Mm-hmm. And so,
is there anything right now, like to be a little bit more specific with the example? Anything?
Appraisal issues as an example.
Yeah,
so we have a buyer wants to, they're going to get the deal, and the seller comes back and says, we want verbiage in there stating that you're going to buy the property regardless if it appraises. Now that starts to get the buyers a little nervous.
Right.
So in certain cases, we have had it where we started brainstorming with one of our agents, and we came up with some verbiage that the buyer will come up with X amount of dollars if it doesn't appraise at a certain price. However, if it goes below it was basically a stopgap, below a certain number, seller and buyer agree to negotiate within X amount of time to come to an agreement. So it's kind of like giving some comfort for the buyer and definitely giving some comfort for the seller. And we've used that several times now, and it's worked out. But we had to get creative. Mm-hmm. And how this came about was when we had a client coming from out of state, and they really want the house. They went above asking, and then the seller came back and wanted to have that verbiage put in there. They weren't comfortable with that. So we put certain verbiage in, and then this property appraised so much lower, completely. And the buyers, our clients, didn't agree with that either.
Right.
So they still came out of pocket money. The seller came down. It was a happy medium all the way around. But if we did not put that in there and get creative and brainstorm, then our clients would have been hung out to dry, and they would have had to come out of pocket. In this particular case, it would have came out $45,000 out of pocket.
Wow.
Instead, they did 20. Everyone was happy. So now we have that verbiage on our database and on our platform, so agents can use it on a regular basis. And we're using it again on an offer yesterday. Whether it goes together, I don't know. So that's just an example.
Yeah, no, those are powerful.
We work with.
That's what people love to read about, is those real life examples.
Well,
that's why I asked.
Love letters.
And we need to protect our clients, okay? Because we're seeing a lot of individuals. So I was at our dentist last week, and the wife came out. She manages the dental office, and because they knew I was in the chair, and they're like, Kurt's in the other room. Kurt's in the other room. Gotta go talk to him to help your son out. And she's like, one of her agents is working with them. She goes, no, Julie works for them. So they're. I don't need to go to Kurt. Yeah. So she was laughing about it, telling me about this. And she goes, my sister works for another company. She's a realtor. And she's telling my son, first-time home buyer, to waive inspections, to waive everything. And she's like, and your agent, she's like, Julie said, what I love what she said about that is like, no, we're not doing that. We're not going to do it. You can't do that. And that's part of the problem with our industry right now is that, some people are not learning the right way of protecting your clients. So
and that's what it's all about. It's just like the love letters are huge today. So you have to make a decision on them. My personal decision, I think this is a company. Excuse me. And I think it's a company one. We don't want our sellers to see them. We tell them. It's dangerous. Potentially dangerous. Excuse me.
We lay out all their options for them.
So I lay it out to them, and if they say I agree with you, I put it right in the listing. They don't want them. Then you've got the escalation clauses, which is something that's been around for a long time. We used to say absolutely not. Now there's more of a okay, let's cap it and set it up and so on and so forth. I'm still not a fan, by the way, but these are the real things that are happening out there today.
Yeah.
And you got to stay on top of it. And again, we are active in the business. A lot of these office managers are not. They're paper pushers. Their job is recruit. They don't understand the business. And I've run into that with some of the big companies around here that I respect. Some of their managers just don't understand the business. And I think that helps us.
And does it help you in terms of, one of the biggest concern right now for brokerages is finding inventory. So how do you go about finding inventory, not only just yourselves if you're actively out there, but getting your agents? You talked about Century 21 University and in this guy's humble opinion, they were doing a great job before COVID, but when COVID hit, boy, did they take it up 121%.
Agreed.
And what they have
time.
now is just amazing work. Anyway, that was my 30-second commercial for my friends at university, but I believe it.
I bet that won't be edited out.
I believe it.
How do you go about finding inventory or helping your team of 73 get out there and find inventory?
Stick with the basics. Maybe think outside the box a little bit in terms of specific target marketing and what you're doing, reaching out to everyone, and staying in touch with your sphere on a consistent basis. I mean, it's just staying in touch with them and doing market updates and educating everyone they know, the consumers, what's going on out in the marketplace right now, and guiding them, because I think there's some sellers out there that really would like to take advantage of it, but they're also scared of where they're going to wind up, where they're going to be, and so we need to basically guide them every step of the way and give them a lot of options of how we can customize this so they are comfortable to get their home on the market.
In the marketplace, wait, let's stick with this for a second. Have you had anyone that you've gotten their listing recently say to you, or the concern or the objection was, well, yeah, I can sell, but where am I going? And do you have an example of how you were able to work through that or around that?
That is probably one of the biggest concerns that a lot of people have. And that includes even if they're relocating out of state. Within our market, it's a concern. Temporary housing, renting, whether it's, people downsizing. I have two examples of people who were downsizing. They had large, higher end homes, and one of them, now's the right time. The other one needed at least a year or 2 years, and they were kind of asking me as their broker, what do you think? And I said, now is as good as I've ever seen it, so it's the perfect time to sell. We don't know what the market's going to do. That being said, if you know you're going to sell in the next year or two, then let's work that out. And then we found them either a condominium to rent, in one particular case, a townhouse. We had another one who rented a kind of a luxury apartment that's all inclusive.
How do you know about these rentals? I mean, is it just a matter of, or do you have
combination? So, combination of really three things. Simply put, the MLS will have for us available. That's our multiple listing service. We'll have condos and homes that are available for rent. More and more of these kind of boutique little luxury apartment complexes are actually in our MLS now, which is interesting. And then the second thing is really knowing the marketplace. So you know what's out there. I mean, we deal a lot with corporate relo, and they oftentimes, if they can't acquire a house before they start their job, will need an alternative. So usually in the back of our mind, we've got something. And then the third alternative is to prospect, expired listings that maybe the people have the ability to rent. But I mean, that's far less common because those people are now trying to sell. So, yeah, but that's a huge concern because there's people who are, two things. There's two people who are in that category, where they're concerned about inventory. As far as sellers are concerned. So the sellers who are not ready to go yet but want to take advantage of the market, have to stay temporarily, they need a rental, need one. That's where they're going. Then you have the people who want to sell and buy. And then you have multiple conversations branch out of that. Well, now's a good time to sell, but what do you think about buying? And I mean, well, now is a very difficult time to buy, that's one. Two is if you can get your foot in the door and get an offer on a house, you're more than likely paying substantially more than asking. So is it worth that effort? Which in many cases it is, because rates are low. So it's kind of a wash if you can do it, but you upgrade.
You're selling high, you're going to buy high.
Yeah.
I would think that they're selling, a percentage of them are selling because they have to, for whatever reason.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, and then I'm having the same conversation with people who are relocating out of state. A few people, clients that I have, a couple of them are going down to the Hilton Head area. I have some in Charleston. I have others going to Florida, Palm Beach County, different areas like that. And the market's super competitive there. And my advice to them, even though is passing them to a broker through our network down there, is saying, listen, rent if the market's that competitive and that high. And also